Today I'm going to show you something that just dropped with the macOS 27 beta, a Swift package from Anthropic called Claude for Foundation Models. What makes this interesting is that it plugs Claude directly into Apple's Foundation Models framework, the same API you use for Apple's own on-device AI. So as a developer, you write one consistent interface and you can swap between on-device and Claude depending on what your app needs. First things first is you're going to need the macOS 27 beta. If you're part of the developer program, you're going to get that for free. You're also going to need the Xcode 27 beta, which is required. This is a macOS 27 only API. The new command line tool project in Xcode, and you're going to add the package that you'll get from GitHub, which I will link down in the bottom of the video here. Add the package dependencies using the GitHub URL. Set the deploy target to macOS 27 when you're running in Xcode. This is something that tripped me up initially. It automatically defaults to 26, so you must manually change it to 27 in your target's general settings or the package just isn't going to compile. And the last thing that you'll need is an API key from console.anthropic.com. If you've already got one, great, you're already set to go. If you don't have one, you can get one for free. You get like $5 of free usage, and it'll be enough to test it and try some cool things out. But again, you're going to need to re-up if this is something that you're going to use pretty consistently. So setup is pretty minimal. New Xcode project, add the Swift package, bump your deployment target to macOS 27, as I said earlier, drop your API key in, and that's it. One thing I want to mention is you can see over here in this line, and line 7 here, the code itself is asking for the actual API key, and obviously I don't want to expose that, and you don't want to do that either, so I created a file over here, a secret file that contained the API key, and this line here we'll just call it, and everything is good. One other thing I added was the server tools, web search, max uses 5 to the model INIT. That's it. Claude is now searching the web server side as part of generating the response. No separate search API, no post-processing, none of that. And because it runs through the foundation models, the interface is identical to any other session call. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the server-side web search. One extra line in the model initializer. As I mentioned, Claude can search the web in real time. As part of answering your question, no extra API calls, no code, no glue code. And as you can see here, I asked it, who won the last 5 Stanley Cups? And it returned the answer from 2021 to 2025, which was the Florida Panthers. And so it worked pretty well. So we're going to move on to the next project. All right, next up is structured output. This one is really powerful for app developers. Instead of getting back a blob of text and trying to parse it, you define a Swift struct, generate it with an @generable file, which I did here. I asked it to plan a 5-day trip to Tokyo, and I put in all this information here, the destination, city, and country, number of days for the trip, 3 months-see attractions, estimated daily budget in US dollars, and it returned the information down here, destination, Tokyo, Japan, 5 days, the attractions I asked it for, as well as the daily budget for $150. So you get back a real Swift struct with type properties, plan.days, the IN is an integer, and the plan.top attractions is an array of strings. I can use these values directly in an app, populate a UI, store them in a database, pass them to another function. This is the type of thing that used to require a lot of fragile prompt engineering and JSON parsing. Now it's just a Swift type. The last demo was my favorite because it shows the real power of having both models in the same framework. I built a smart router. The app uses Apple's free, private, on-device model to decide whether a question is simple enough to answer locally or complex enough to need Claude. Simple questions never leave your device, hard ones get escalated. So I asked it 2 questions, one simple, one complex. The first one was, find 15% of 240. Now, for some reason, it felt that question was too complex for it to answer, but in any case, it routed it to Claude and it gave the answer, showed how it came up with the answer, and 15% of 240 is 36. Now, the second question is quite a bit more complex. I asked the model to explain the geopolitical implications of de-dollarization in emerging markets, and that one obviously is going to be much too complex to answer. So right here it returned a response. I'm not going to sit here and go through all this and bore you, but as you can see, it really generated quite a response here, which was great. As I said, the on-device model acts as the gatekeeper. The simple maths question never leaves the device, costs nothing, has no latency. The complex geopolitical question gets routed to Claude automatically, which they actually both got routed to Claude. I don't know if that's a bug in the design or what, but this is AI orchestrating AI, and because both models speak the same foundation models protocol, the code to call them is identical. So Claude for Foundation Models is a Swift package that lets you use Claude inside native Apple apps to the exact same API as Apple's own on-device model. We saw web search with a single line change, structured Swift output with no parsing required, and a smart router that used an on-device model to decide to call Claude. It's in a beta right now alongside macOS 27, so expect things to change, but the fundamentals are solid. Links to the repo and the Anthropic console are in the descriptions. Let me know in the comments what you build with this, if you build anything at all, and have fun because this is pretty cool.